Hello and welcome to the Entrepreneur's Inner Game podcast. Welcome to a new episode, and I'm really thrilled to have a very exciting guest on the show today. He is Paul Roth, and Paul is the creator of Advisor Selling Method. He's been developing this method for more than 2 decades, and after extensive, rigorous testing, he is producing amazing results for his clients using this method. Paul lives in Ithaca, New York. Paul, a very, very warm welcome to the Entrepreneur's Inner Game podcast.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here. Now, Paul, we're going to be talking a lot about the mindset that brings through successful selling. So we are going to be focusing on selling. But before we do that, I'd love to ask you about your own personal mindset journey. Mm-hmm. When did you first think, mindset is going to play a big role in my success? When did you first start thinking along those lines and focusing on that part?
Well, there's been many shifts along the way, but the biggest one was in 1994 when I was pretty much at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom. It was, I had lots of great stuff, but it was not working very well. My challenges with my now ex-wife and my 2 children, and the company I was working with was stealing all the money that I was helping them make. And I was driving up the 405 freeway, and I looked at a book on my seat called The Addictive Organization. And from there, I created a whole new way of looking at life, from being one of survival in my human nature, the trap of human nature, which is competition, conspiracy, conflict, and ultimately corruption, to seeing the power of human spirit and the creativity, the compassion, the collaboration, and the contribution that I could make with my life. That was the turning point. And ever since then, I've been developing an array of methods, including advisory selling. There's also collaborative leadership and applied ontology and a few other, life navigation, which just is now emerging again. So I've got a lot of things I'm working on, but it's all because of that shift from seeing that I don't need to be a prisoner of my human nature, and I could unleash the power of my human spirit in everyday actions. I don't have to go to temple, just in selling. It's accessible right there if we have the appropriate methods. So that was the biggest shift for me.
That's a huge shift. That's a massive shift. Tell me, how did you make that shift? I mean, what changed in your thinking?
Well, I developed at the time a program I teach. It's called Blindspot work, and I was able to see how I could define exactly the nature of my machinery, my survival-based machinery, and then I could also define exactly who I am, which is not that. And since those 2 parts of being human, there's nature and spirit equals being human. So human nature, human spirit equals human being. Putting those 2 together in a way that they work together rather than fight each other. So every time, things go crazy and wacko because of my blind spot, my life gets better.
Wonderful.
So
I love it.
Send me your terrible situation. I'm going to get way better.
Amazing.
So, I can't fix my human nature, but I sure as hell can make it a partner and use it. That's the shift that began to take place there. And as I led different programs on that topic, that developed. And then, of course, the advisory selling methods are kind of like riding on top of that underlying set of principles.
How did your life change on a practical level when you made this huge shift?
Well, practically, I was able to take full ownership of my place in the world. I was able to see that I was given a divine, if you will, assignment to develop this work get it out into the world so that people can unleash their creativity, compassion, collaboration, and make their contribution, and start to shake off the grip, as you can see on the news every day, the grip of competition, conspiracy, conflict, and corruption, which it has enslaved all of us, except I don't have that anywhere close to the grip, anywhere. I don't have it. I don't have it. It's gone. And a lot of people I work with who could have been real scumbag salespeople are beautiful leaders and great human beings because of using the methods, using this shift, making this shift, this total mindset shift from being what we think we are as human beings to being who we truly are.
Yes, yes, that is the big shift, isn't it? Because we shed the ego and we let go of all this false thinking about how we have to defend ourselves and how we have to survive. As you said, you're in survival mode, but that's not our true nature.
Well, can I talk about that a little bit more?
Please do.
Yeah, it's. I think we give ourselves too much credit in that. The human nature machinery, human nature is a child of Mother Nature, purely mechanical. The creatures are competing for food, territory, procreation. They're sneaking up on each other to kill each other. The trillions of microscopic creatures and giant ones will eat another creature today to survive, including those of you that have chicken. It's nature, and that's all we've been swimming in those waters since prehistoric times. And that's the origins of selling were in prehistoric times, which I describe in my book. This whole shift. I mean, we've been evolving out of the bondage of this mechanical human nature, which is kind of like the Terminator. It doesn't think, it doesn't eat, it doesn't stop. And it's like you get in your car in the morning and it only goes where it wants to go. That's human nature. So people wonder, why do I keep ending up in the same place? I can tell you 10 major career changes, from working on optical effects in movies like Star Wars to Fortune 100 corporation program leader to teaching Tai Chi Chuan in the federal prison system. I mean, to see that every single one of them ends up the same. How come? I was the only one there. Must be something about me that's operating all the time. And so for me to come to grips with that was me, not everyone else. And then this is that, and that was me, my machinery, and not me. Now I can be me. And I've defined who that is in very precise terms, and I can see the machinery even before it starts. And so there's a freedom to do what the Dalai Lama once said when I was at a event in Woodstock, New York. He said, someone asked him, "What's the purpose of life?" And he said, "Be happy." I can truly be happy without any ounce of question or compromise. And that's extraordinary. And we all have that within us. We have the skills. All we need are the methods. And the advisory selling methods is one, like the collaborative leadership methods, like the applied ontology methods, like the life navigation methods. All those methods are all based on this shift of mindset shift. And the mind is, in my view, a dangerous tool, and designed for survival. It remembers everything, how many times the lights changed in the last 3 seconds. And if we put our valuable information in that storehouse, great recording, lousy access. So if it can't give us what we need, it makes up something. And so we all end up with a big story that's not even true. So shifting away from the grip of that big story that we've created about ourselves, each of us have it, no one escapes, to break free of the bondage, once again, of that story and begin to create a life worth living. That's what I'm interested in helping people do. It's what I do for myself every day.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I completely concur with all of this. I think it's incredible. And you talked about, you said, when situations happen and they tend up happening in the same way, the only person there is you. And it's not about anyone else. It is always about us and taking full responsibility, isn't it? And making the changes from within rather than blaming other people or blaming other situations.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's being the source of my life. And I got no one to blame. Not even my parents.
Not even our parents. Yes, which is a tough one to get by. So let's shift to sales and how all of this applies to sales. I've always thought sales is a mindset game. And obviously, we can have a great script, but it really comes from the confidence that you have, the certainty you have within yourself, the value that you have in yourself. That for me dictates how successful you're going to be in sales. So why do you think mindset plays such a big role in sales?
Well, basically, we're trained in certain selling habits from birth. First, our parents teach us, we watch them. Then the teachers do the same thing, managers, consultants, and finally sales trainers repackage the stuff we learn from our parents and make a lot of money at our expense. And it's all stuff that's based in survival. It's based in competition, conspiracy, conflict, and ultimately leads to corruption. So it's making a shift. Number one shift is from the agent's best interest, which is mostly what sales agents are focused on, to client best interest. There's 5 key principles of advisory selling. One is authentically committed to serving the client's best interest, genuinely interested in them and their needs, completely open to whatever outcome will serve them, not the one I want them to select. Fearless in your communication, saying things to clients they don't want to hear when they need to hear it, and total intentionality to make sure the client is served to the fullest. That's advisory selling. Based on that, if you live by those principles, then it's shocking how easy it is to make a lot of money in selling. The clients are aching to have an advisor rather than an agent. But you have to give up selling to survive, look good, pay the bills, and take on selling to serve. Funny thing, you make more money doing that. You got to begin to wake up to our inherent deceptive selling, which came from prehistoric times. Human beings invented selling to survive. They couldn't compete physically with the bigger creatures, so they had to outsmart them. Deceptive selling was in our DNA, and now making the shift from that grip of that deceptive selling to what I call inceptive selling, where we're planting a seed of an idea in the mind of a person, mind shift, that blossoms into something extraordinary for themselves and everyone they touch. That's different. But Martin Luther King sold that. He said, we're working to save the soul of America. Planted the seed of an idea that continues to blossom worldwide. So, and then moving from this automatic behavior of exploiting clients to empowering them, to stop trying to get something, get a meeting, get a proposal. In real estate, get a listing, get a check, get. No, it's about give. Start giving meetings, giving proposals, giving of yourself. And rather than asking for opportunities, I'd really like the chance to do your business. No, great. Offer. Look, I'm offering to take the time necessary in order to see where you stand right now, where you want to take things, and see how I can help you get there. It's an offer. It's a bold offer, and we're not asking for anything. And then shifting from coercing, convincing, coercing action to compelling action. Working with clients to create a vision of a future possibility that's compelling enough to change your actions in the present. That's all selling. People don't pay money for the shoes they bought. They pay money for the vision that pulled out the credit card, not the leather. So it's working with clients to create that vision of a future possibility that's real. Deceptive selling is the opposite of that. It does the same thing, but it's when the woman in the TV ad pushes the pill across the table, and suddenly the other woman is able to teach her daughter how to ride a bicycle, go scuba diving and camping. No, the pill doesn't do that. Although it's well meant, it's a deception. So we have it grow into our culture, into our communications, into everything, is this thread of deceptive selling, which we have to wake up to and begin to shift by practicing the practices. You shift to more inceptive selling, planting that seed, it will blossom. I think in consultative selling, which has been very popular for about 30 years, it's, where people are selling their solution. And they mean well, client-centric, find the solution to solve the client's problem. But sometimes we're selling a solution when the client doesn't have a problem. It's like a pharmaceutical salesperson. I want you to buy my pill, even though you don't have the problem. So it was the opioid crisis, by the way, was deceptive, corrupt, deceptive selling. So there's plus stopping solving problems and start accomplishing a project. Clients want to accomplish something. And no, they don't need you to fix their problem. Their problem is a stepping stone. And rather than forcing them to make decisions, decide is the Latin root. Decision means to kill, carve out. Get away from forcing decisions to empowering clients to make appropriate choices. Not just one option, all the options.
Absolutely. That sounds really, it makes absolute sense. It seems very, very logical. And it seems a much less painful way of having sales conversations, because sales conversations can feel very painful. Why do you think there's so much fear from entrepreneurs around having sales conversations and having to sell themselves and their services?
No, we're not, the selling I'm talking about is joyous. It's not less painful. It's truly joyous. And people suffer in selling because they know they're doing something wrong. They're violating the basic premise of being a human being by taking actions to serve my best interest, oftentimes at another person's expense. There's 5 different types of selling that I've identified. One is conspiratorial selling. It's a scam artist or the opioid seller or the whomever. They're out there working, planning how to sell you on their bad stuff that's going to hurt you. So hurting clients for their gain. Second is called competitive selling, outsmarting clients. There's a lot of that still in the world. Back in the 90s, it was all competitive selling. Then there's consultative selling emerged back then, and that's about selling a solution for my gain. And there's even collaborative selling, which has been talked about, which is about, like a partnership, a kind of a account management type of selling, being working with the client and helping each other. Advisory selling steps beyond that. It's no longer about my gain. It's about empowering clients' choices for their gain. And focusing on pulling the client out of the stands at the ball game onto the playing field. We're going to give them the ball, and we're going to help them win their game. They're going to have their, what on the line. It's their result. And as advisors, we're here to help them win, not do it for them. So it's a shift away from, I'm going to be the great performer on the playing field. I'm going to do all the stuff for the client, and they're going to pay me money, and they're going to think I'm great, and I'm going to promote it to all these other people and tell them how great I am. It's not about me. It's about them. I had a guy in the early 2000s who said, wrote this postcard. He said, last year, I sold $60 million worth of real estate in my market. And I said, well, good. Is this one of the ideas we work around? It's not a new idea. I said, is that interested or interesting? I said, looks pretty interesting. Yeah, interesting. Let's change it. But that's changing anything except the context. We made the postcard. Last year, I helped my clients sell $60 million worth of real estate in this market. it was all of a sudden about the clients. Same result, same promotion,
Yes.
different purpose.
Yeah.
So if you help those people sell 60 million, well, maybe you can help me. But we have to stop the pretending, posturing, proving, pitching, promoting, and all the P's you can find that we do to try to prove that we're worth something.
Yes.
Rather than being worth something.
Yes. And this brings us nicely onto the value piece of selling, because I work with many clients who don't understand their own value. They can't see their own value. So when it comes to that point in the sales conversation where they have to present their fee, they feel really anxious about stating their fee because they've got all these thoughts going on in their heads. The client's not going to be able to afford me. I'm too expensive. They're going to say no. All of this stuff comes up for them. So how can everyone on the call really believe in their own value and feel confident about what they're selling and how they present it to their prospect?
Well, when you're grounded in making a sincere contribution to the client, the issue of fee is never a challenge. I once had a major client I had worked with them. They went from 10 million in 2 years to 400 million in 4 years, 300 million in 4 years. The first asked me, he said, well, do you think you could reduce your fee a little bit? I said, no, but I can promise you one thing. I won't increase it. What, you want me to compromise my work with you and you want me to compromise I'm not going to compromise my work with you and I'm not compromising my fee. I mean, what I'm getting, you're getting way more than you could ever hope to pay for. By paying me my fee, which is not small. But you have to be clear that what you're offering clients is something of extraordinary value, which they will have many times the benefit of my little fee. And if you're committed to that and you have methods to back you up, then it's no question of fee.
Right.
It's you mentioned the word self-doubt. Clients have great self-doubt. That's why they don't do things. So we got to remove their self-doubt, but we can't remove their self-doubt unless we remove our own.
Exactly. Yes.
But if you're going to do the tactics, tricks, techniques, traps, triggers, and all the nonsense that you've accumulated, count on being scared and not enjoying selling. We're born to sell. Every human being is selling. Every conversation that every human being has is a selling conversation all the time. No one can escape. The human world exists because we've spoken it into existence or sold it into existence. So listen, get over it. You're selling. Everyone out there. Now let's get good at it. And let's get on the side of the power of human spirit rather than the dark side of the survival-based scheme that we think we have to somehow pull off.
Yeah, this is funny because we are selling all day long. We're selling to our partners, we're selling to our friends, we're selling ideas to our children all the time. And yet when it comes to a sales conversation with a prospect, it's like we put that prospect, that we make them into some sort of alien that, we can't converse with them in a normal way. We have to go into this very rigid, unhappy way of showing up in a sales conversation, but actually you're just having another conversation with a human being, just as you're doing all day long throughout your day.
Well, I don't call them prospects, I call them suspects.
Oh, okay.
And a prospect is someone I'm going to get something from. A suspect is someone I'm going to give something to.
I like it.
So if I'm looking to see what I can give, I have no fear. Fearless.
Got it. I love that shift.
Doesn't matter how much of a jerk the client is. Clients are jerks. They lie. They do all the same techniques that we learned in sales training. They've learned them better because we keep hammering them with it. They get better than us. But it doesn't. As soon as we change, they change. Human being is very responsive to the full expression of being true to yourself and to others. And I tell people, try and stop me. You can't take my commitment to you away. You can stop talking to me, that's fine. But guess what? I'll always be committed to your success to the fullest, whether you like it or not. So you either get with the program or don't call me. And you want to suffer, be miserable, and continue because you've learned how to survive in a way that's pretty brutal. And so giving that up, well, I'm successful doing this. Yeah, giving that up is not easy for something you don't know. So it does take a degree of trust in oneself and in who we are as human beings to make a shift away from what's, look at the planet. It's gripped with survival.
Yes. Yeah, I absolutely agree. So Paul, when you have setbacks in your business, and I love asking this question because I think it's so enlightening and it can be very inspiring to see how other people cope in these situations. When you have a setback, how do you cope with the setback and how do you get yourself back on your feet again?
Well, I'm going to say something that's going to be really non-logical. And I have to go to non-logic because if logic was working so well, the world would be different. So I'm going to say this, based on my blind spot work and understanding my blind spot, where I end up deprived, taken advantage of, and betrayed as the punchline of every story, no matter how brilliant the relationship was. Somehow I always get there. When I'm low on clients, sometimes it's because I'm focused on my web applications or books or other things like that. I do something very simple. I find 1 or 2 or 3 clients who I know will be extremely good at taking full advantage of me. And those are the people I offer a lower price to, so they can really rip me off. So now I'm fully deprived, taken advantage, and betrayed. And every time I embrace that and choose it, and learn how to use it, my schedule's packed. Now, I've never marketed my services yet. I'll market my web applications, books, and learning modules, but I've never marketed in 35 years. And I've been packed with business.
Can you talk me through this again? So when you're say low on clients because you've been working on applications, etc., you find 2 or 3 clients who will take full advantage of you and they'll pay you a lower price. What does that do? How does that bring in a flow of paying clients?
It feeds my blind spot, and all of a sudden the doors open up. I get calls from people I would never have expected. I get giant waves of clients come when I'm willing to, in this non-logical, and it'd have to take a serious conversation about blind spot for each of you listening to fully comprehend what I'm saying. I'm just telling you the answer, not leading up to it. But the fact of the matter is, we all have machinery, and if we allow our machinery to be fed enough, and the spirit and machinery can work together, miracles happen. Miracles. Suddenly I have more clients than I can handle, and I'm trying to limit that so I can get more work done on books and applications.
Got it. That is a surprising answer.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I'm sorry, everyone, but it's the truth.
Well, that is the most unusual answer I've ever had to that question. So thank you for that, Paul. What if you could share one top sales tip, if you like, to start turning around sales conversations? What would the one change our listeners, our viewers can make that could have a transformative effect on their sales conversations?
Well, the first thing I'd say is throw out all the books, tapes, and webinars and tips that you've accumulated, because they're just getting in your way. You've already got everything in you that you need. And that stuff makes it much harder to bring it out. So if you start to divest yourself of this accumulated stuff, be nice about it, and start to unleash the power of your commitment to people. It's easy to, sales is easy. Sales is not even, it's sacred. I mean, there's a whole history of human spirit when you see, well, how over the eons that people have been inspired by others to do extraordinary things. Well, we have that in us too. Let's go to that side and help clients do the extraordinary rather than see if we can milk them for more money, milk their misery for money.
So what I'm getting is that it's really shifting your whole focus from yourself and what you can get out of that call and shifting it to the suspect and what you can give to that suspect and the commitment you give to the suspect on the call. Yes. And for the suspect to know that your commitment and focus is all about him or her and it's not about you.
Yeah, and the methods I teach shift a lot from the, most people are pretty good on the transactional side, right? We're a bit good on the language on the human side. It shifts selling agents from being a convenience to being an asset.
Yes. And
mostly they're a convenience to be used, abused, and excused. So my theory from the very beginning of my work, and all right, I'll date myself, 1988, when my company started, was if my clients are winning, I'm going to win. And I've learned over those years how to make that a real, not just an idea, but a real living thing.
Yeah, I love that. That is absolutely the true. And that's my complete way of working as well.
Yeah, just one last thing. I was inspired by a guy whose name was Dr. Choi. He was a acupressurist. I was working with a consulting firm in Seattle, and we had an event, and he came in and worked on us. And he did JFK, the Pope, other people like that. So he wasn't a lightweight when it came to his business. And I said, Dr. Choi, how do you get these clients? He said, well, I'll tell you. I did one sales call, and I swore I'd never do that again. And that's all he said. It took me a little bit of time to figure out what the hell he was telling me, but I've never done a sales call in my business. And I'm packed with clients, great clients. I have some clients for over 20 years. One client did doing 100,000 in his first year in 1999, and last year did $11 million. And it's not just about the money; it's the power of the relationship, the partnership.
Exactly, it is. Absolutely, I agree. So that brings us very nicely to be asking you, how can our viewers and our listeners find out more about you and the incredible work you do?
Well, we have a new website coming up in a number of days called advisoryselling.com. And there's contact information and also an overview of the different programs. I have the advisory selling book. We're in the last chapter. It'll be out. It's going to make a lot of people angry. But that will also provide in the back of the book a whole outline of the different types of programs that are available for those that want to make this shift, this mind shift.
Wonderful. We'll include all the details when we put out this podcast. And Paul, thank you. It's been fascinating. Sales is one of my very favorite areas to talk about. And it's been incredible because you're a disruptor. And I love finding new ways of, looking at the same challenges that we have and ways that work. And I'd encourage everyone who's been here with us today to check out Paul's website. We'll be putting all the details below the podcast, and also to check out his new book as well, Advisory Selling. It's been a pleasure having this chat with you, Paul. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Till next time. Bye-bye for now.
Thanks, everyone.